Hi, I'm KS Garner, and you're listening to the Solo Nerdbird podcast. Today, I'll be speaking with collaborators behind the graphic novella The Rose in the Catskin, Wells Thompson and Rachel Distler. Was it Distler?
Distler, yeah. Think of
Distler,
like
okay.
whistle. T is silent, yeah.
Okay, Distler. Rachel Distler, currently on Kickstarter. Welcome, Wells. Welcome, Rachel.
Yeah,
Hi,
good to be
thanks for
back.
having me.
Well, outside my introduction, who is Wells and Rachel in their own words? Whoever wants to go first.
Wells Thompson is a mistake.
Damn, all right. Coming out of the gate, it's really hot here. Jeez.
No, I am a comic book writer, currently based out of Chicago, Illinois. I am part of the creative voice behind Mechaton, Frankenstein the Unconquered, and now the Catskin and the Rose, which is our shared baby that we've been working on for the last couple of months. I mainly focus on like really character-driven stuff with sort of a wild abandon for genre. So I don't have a lot of like easy to pin down. Like I do a lot of science fiction. I do a little bit of everything, but it's usually really like character-driven and some literary influence kind of stuff. That is usually in the realm of comics.
Rachel?
So I guess if I had to describe myself somehow, well, I would generally describe myself as like a generalist when I was like growing up and reading about like, oh, how do you make comics? How do you do whatever? A lot of the books I read really emphasize like having some knowledge of doing all of it. And originally, at least when I was a kid up into a teenager, I was mostly writing. But I really, didn't want to have to go through like this process of like having to, I guess, explain how I wanted something to look. So I was always kind of drawing concurrently. I'm sorry, my cats are fighting in the background. Oh, Lord. So pretty much I decided to focus more on the artistic aspect of like assembling books and going to art college. But I've always been very interested still in like the narrative aspect of, like as well as saying like storytelling and world building and character driven like sort of angles and trying to translate that like into the art. So when I try to work, like that's primarily what I'm thinking about. So I kind of find myself, even though I draw more often, especially these days, find myself sort of like in this split. And I think of myself as like kind of a translator of comics, if that makes sense. Like, how do I translate what the script is supposed to look like? What's it supposed to feel like? What sort of mood is it trying to give you? That kind of thing.
And
very importantly, I will say Rachel is also in a Weezer cover band.
Yes, I am.
That's cool.
You might see guitar headstocks back there, actually.
Well, I was going to ask, like, how difficult or easy, or like how you've been able to manage doing that throughout however long you've been doing it. Like, I'm pretty sure it was hard in the beginning, but how has it been throughout your career to be able to be that, quote unquote, translator of comics as an artist?
Oh, sorry. You're, I think it's my internet. It might be because I'm high up. There was a little bit of clipping. I'm sorry. Could you say that again?
Oh, that's fine. So I guess, as you put it, you're like a translator of comics, work as an artist. So how has it been like being able to do that throughout your career? Because I'm pretty sure it was hard in the beginning, right? Trying to like understand what people are asking of you, or like trying to understand their writing. But now you've been doing it so many times, like, has it gotten easier? Is it just because you've gotten better at it, or maybe the people you're working with understand their own writing more?
Mm-hmm. I think the experience, like, of course, it helps a lot, and just being able to have the time, like being older and taking time to go through more, more media and seeing like what works, whether it be like, the framing in a movie or, like an animation or another comic book or even just like a novel. And a lot of times I actually try to translate like lyrics and things from like music. When I started out, I would say my worst time trying to figure out how to do anything was paneling. I didn't really understand what made them work, like why artists and writers like took these very deliberate selections in the way that they're plotting out a page, or why are they laying out a certain panel flow some way. I just was just like, oh, it's supposed to be splashy and cool. But I mean, everybody says this, but it's true. Reading, making comics and understanding comics by like Scott McCloud helped immensely. Like, I think the most influential bit that got me to really start thinking about paneling was like maybe two things. There's this, this might be discussed in like Will Eisner's. It's been so long since like I looked at these. It was either making comics for this one or one of the Will Eisner books talking about how like the story happens in between the gutters. That's Scott McCloud for sure. Okay, yeah, there we go. So it's just like, yeah, another McCloud gem. And just sort of understanding, like that made me think about like the unsaid things happening in between the panels and not having to just draw out every little moment. Like it's okay. So, like so much of the story happens in between the gutters that like are not being told. And the other thing that I really loved was it was just like when Scott McCloud showed this whole, it was like this gag, as it usually is, where like he's sort of stringing along like word balloons as rope. You're just like following the rope along, and he's just like, how does time function in a like a comic panel? Like how do we understand time as a comic panel? And that really made me think about just like how do we like express time in like a non-moving medium? That's what got me interested in thinking about like taking music and breaking it down into like panels. Like, does this fit like a tempo? Does this fit like a bridge or a fill? Like those things are very time-based. Comics is very time-based. And so I think by taking, a thing that I really didn't understand and try to merge it with something else I'm interested in and like taking a very specific angle, just sort of hammering away at it, it got me a lot more comfortable doing like storytelling and paneling and pacing. But it also gave me like a framework to consider other mediums, like how do they lay these things out? How do I again translate that into what I'm doing? So like absolutely it's gotten a lot easier because I've made a lot of crap, but I've slowly figured it out. And I would say that, some people might even enjoy how it turns out now.
That's kind of funny. As a weird quirk in that, I actually, my background was in like screenwriting and film. So when I started first doing comics, I had like the same issue with like, how do panels work? Because I was very used to that kind of fluid motion and being able to sort of tell the story in motion and be able to lean on like, well, an actor is going to interpret what this motion is. I don't need to spell out what it is. And then my first scripts as a result were just like nonsense. And I had to like really break that and learn how to, like what does a panel do and why do I need to plan it out this rigorously?
So
what I'm saying is I'm glad we found each other at this point in our careers where we don't have to be like, how does this work? I don't know. Hopefully we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll just wing it and just hope for the best.
Well, I guess when you're working with artists, and then Rachel, when you're working with writers or just like with other collaborators, what's something that you wish they would tell you or could express, more, I guess, fluently in a way that makes sense to you as an artist that you feel like, has been an issue in the past, maybe once or like multiple times?
Just like working collaboratively, like with a writer?
Yeah, like with a writer, and you feel like, man, I wish they would express this to me in a way that it makes more sense. Kind of like they don't really know what they want.
Oh, yeah.
So
one of the, I would say like generally everybody I've worked with so far has been pretty easy for me to like ask follow-up questions and be like, what do you want here? But one of the most recurring things that baffles me, and it's happened, you know, among like different writers, and I understand like how it happens, is when I get like those panels where it's like, I want to show the whole stadium, but I also really want to hone in on what the football players are doing down there. And there's something happening on the street out there. And I'm like, this is one panel. I like, how do I frame this? Like, what do you want? There's like 7 panels already on this page. Do you want me to break this up? Do you want to move it over there? And sometimes I'm a little freaked out to ask because I'm like, am I not thinking about this the right way? Like, is there a way to do this? But usually more often than not, I elect to do like some sort of inset where I'm like, that thing happening on the street is stupid and we're not even going to look at that. And I'm going to give you these thumbnails and I'm just going to hope that you give me the thumbs up on that and that it's fine. But that is like something that kind of happens a lot. Like I would say like the most prevalently when it's like, you do understand that like, I have to draw this. Like, this isn't something if that exists in the realm of like description anymore. Like I have to make this like a physical thing you can look at and not make it look like soup. So that would be like one of my number one recurring things is just having to sit down and be like, look, I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah, no, 1 action per page. That's pretty standard. 1 action per character. I would say 1 action per like character per page, and really no, you know, narrow the amount of characters you're really focusing on per panel.
Yeah, it's like if you give me a whole page to do this, I could probably figure out some creative way to do it. But again, this has to share space with 6 other panels. So it's like you're giving me like 3 inches of space to put in this whole thing. And I'm looking at it like a Rubik's Cube, and I'm just like, how do I do this?
As a freelance editor, I've run into the problem of just like, okay, well, this is nice. This is a nice thought. But you see how much dialogue is already on the page, and you see how we're already on panel 12. Maybe let's have a page break somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, from the other side, from the writing side, I've been pretty lucky for the most part with working with artists. They tend to be very good at interpreting my prose. I don't know if that's me being very clear in what I'm asking for, or if it's just working with really talented people, or both. Either way, it's been very good. I'd say like I'm always like extremely forward with like, if you have an idea that for how this could work better, or if you are confused in any way, please just tell me and I will as quickly as I can let you know. Creatively I feel really lucky with the people that I've worked with. I'd say the biggest thing, like the biggest frustration collaboratively has nothing to do with the creative stuff. It's usually like, you know, timing, the fact that everyone else is working like other jobs to support this, and like we don't always have all deadlines are hard to meet, especially when it's all freelance and stuff, you know, and communicating those kind of external needs with people can sometimes be frustrating, but at the end of the day we're all in this together, and so it just takes the moment to be like, okay, well, let's adjust and see what we can make happen.
Yeah, coming together as like a unified collaborative team is always like the key thing. That's what always makes like the best books, like working really closely. So just like as long as I could talk to you about that panel problem, it's gonna be, you know.
For sure.
All right, so let's back up a little bit. The rose and the catskin.
Catskin and the rose.
Am I?
You got it.
Catskin rose.
It's all good.
Catskin and the rose. Graphic novella. What is it about, and how did you how did everyone get involved in this project?
This was an interesting one for me because I did like several things that I've never done before in writing this. It was originally like about a year and a half ago. a book called Short Wit in the Company of Women, put out a call for short stories that was just like, women with swords, go. And I was like, what would I do with that? That sounds like a fun premise for an anthology. I don't know if I have an idea for that. And then I was like, well, what if like these two women were like fighting, and could you like make them fall in love during the fight? And I was like, that's interesting. I like that. And I was about to submit it as a story, but there were a couple things that stopped me. But it just like kind of stayed in my brain for a little while. And I eventually was just like, I have to do something with this. So before I wrote anything, I actually reached out to Rachel and was like, hey, would you be interested in, here's kind of the basic premise. Would you be interested in drawing this book? And she was like, yes. as I recall, it was an immediate, absolutely yes.
Like absolutely.
Because I was just like, look, it's women, they're fighting with swords, they fall in love, and then there's like Princess Bride romance shenanigans.
Yeah, what's not to like?
And you were just like, yes. You had me at sword lesbians. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I started writing the script, and in about 5 days, I wrote initially a 64-page script, and then out to 68 pages. Which I guess to go back and answer the first question, The Catskin and the Rose is a fantasy adventure romance about these two very highly skilled swordswomen who enter a tournament, the grand prize of which is marrying into the royal family. So it's a way for them to escape poverty and elevate their status. It's also really high stakes because it's a tournament to the death. They do not survive their rounds. So, and during this finalist fight, whoever wins is going to marry the prince, who is a huge prick, by the way. But as they're doing it, they discover, like, they start to get a little bit of respect for each other. They start to recognize each other's skill and recognize that there's something there, and feelings develop, intimacy occurs, and we have a big mess on our hands. It's a lot of fun. It's tropey, I feel like, in all the right ways, and it's built around these two very strong, very fun characters, Iselda and Camille, who are feisty and full of life and very fighty with each other. So we sort of came together on the sort of unified, like, wouldn't this be a fun idea? And out of that, we built this really interesting story, and Rachel brought this like really incredible art style and setting and set dressing and character to it that I am completely obsessed with. I love it.
Oh, shucks. Well, I really glommed onto the script, I think, just because I really liked the interplay between like the two main characters. And for God knows why, nobody yet has asked me to do like a fantasy sword lesbian story with like two kissy characters. Like that's like what lives rent free in my mind all the time. I'm like, any day now, somebody will just send me the email, and the email came. It finally happened.
Hey.
So yeah, I'm trying to kind of going balls to the wall a little bit when it comes to like trying to get the set dressing appropriate, because it's like, you know, when we think fantasy, we usually, you know, think like medieval Europe or something, but it's very much like more like desert, more like Central Asia, more like,
like Byzantine,
you know,
or
like towards that sort of area and that sort of style, and really like who we kind of consider like your usual like medieval European fencers, the outsider. So I was like, okay, I like this inversion. I like that I'm going to be drawing something that's like not just big gray castles and you know, that kind of thing, where it's like, I love that. but what if we added a little bit of spice, a
Mhm.
little bit of something, a little zhuzh it up. So it was like the combination of just like two very likable characters, a twist when it comes to like what is really kind of also happening at the backstory of like this tournament. There's some like very interesting side characters. There's of course the environment, and I think it all wraps itself up together in a neat little bow. So it's just like, oh yeah, there's like a tasty morsel for me here. What's over in this one? Ooh, it's caramel filling, delicious. It's just like a little box of bonbons for me. So I was like, yes, I will draw the box of bonbons. I'm down to clown. And then we got Skylar Patridge, and we got like Fellhound to do like some covers, and my like eyes were just glossing over like the screen directly. They still do. I can't get enough of it. So I was just like, just putting in my money, even though I'm not paying for it, but like I'm just like slowly just sort of flipping it out there. Yeah.
Mhm.
It was also born out of at least for me, I've been working on a bunch of different series, and Mechaton. I love Mechaton. It just got done with its first arc. I've been working on it for like 2 years. The end is not in sight. Frankenstein the Unconquered, the same thing. 2 issues are out. 3 and 4 are coming out later this year, but like the end is far, far away. And for me, I was just like, I want to write something and I want to finish it. I want the story to be done. I don't want to have to go back to it if I don't want to.
Mhm.
And so I really wanted to write that. And then to my horror, by the time we get to the end of the book, I'm just like, well, this is the juiciest setup for a sequel I've ever written. So if it's successful enough, we just might have to come back to it. But at the one of the things I am proud of is that like it's a complete story. It is almost 70 pages, and we meet everyone, and if it ends there, it ends there, and that's fine.
Mhm. All right. I know you say you had to go. Can we discuss the rewards for backers first before
For sure. I can stay for another 10-15 minutes maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the rewards first, or
we can do rewards first? Yeah. So we've got 2 different covers on this thing. As Rachel pointed out, one by Fellhound, that's our standard edition, one by Skylar Patridge, which is our special edition. So we have, as always, we have a digital copy for people who don't want to pay for shipping or just want to get for as little investment as possible, get the story. We have our standard edition print, which comes in at $25. The digital is $15. Print is $25. We have the special edition, which is going to come with back matter and probably a page breakdown, probably some kind of script breakdown. The character pages are going to be in there, and if we hit our stretch goals, we're going to add some mini comics to that one as well. That one is $40. We've got a virgin cover of that that we're doing on hollow foil chrome. That one's going to be $60. So same thing, it's a deluxe edition, but it just looks extra beautiful with Skylar Patridge's art on there. And then we have our everything tier, which is all 3 copies of the book, as well as the enamel pin and 2 stickers that we're selling with this book, which we also have all of my previous work that we're selling on here, including like Mechaton, Frankenstein the Unconquered, By Visibility 1 and 2, and my 2 horror anthologies that I've worked on, Descent into Dread and From the Static. We also might still have a digital commission available. Yeah, we have 1 digital commission available. Hopefully that's not gone by the time this airs. So if you want to get a character commission made by Rachel, that is available for the time being.
I do want to add and like just a little implore message here. So even though it's a little high up in the like what is it even called? Like the stretch goals. Mm-hmm. I really like, I just for my like own spiritual fulfillment, I need to see Tango and Rio Burton make like their side comics. Like I need it. I'm kind of like stuck in this catch-22, like especially like having seen like Tango do that like sketch of the Queen. And of course I know what's going on, but people who are backing it, they haven't read the ding dang thing. It's like, well, you know what, just trust me when I say this, you want the side story.
You do. Because
like when you get the book, and if like we do not have that side story, you're gonna want the side story. You just are. And you're going to be very upset if we don't have that. I'm going to be really upset. I'm probably only like going to be posting how upset I am about it for the rest of time.
Thank you for funding the book. Why did you not give us?
Oh, like you should have done it. You had your chance.
You had your
chance. You have to tell anybody around you who reads comics, please, I need to read this. I'm gonna be so upset.
It's very good content. It's very good content. I'm really excited about these two stories. So for our stretch goals, we've got one at 12,000. The original goal is 10,000. So the first one is at 12,000. You get a copy of Fellhound's Do You Believe in an Afterlife? We also have a new sticker that comes available for purchase. At 15,000, all physical backers will get a postcard sized comic front and back with a comic that Rachel and I worked on before we did this, which is a Arcane fan comic about the characters Caitlin and Vi being cute in a bar. And at 20,000, we put in a 3-page mini comic by Tango called The Queen, which is about one of the side characters in the Catskin and the Rose, as well as a poster from extremely talented artist Angela Wu.
I'm also gonna die if we don't get that. I'm gonna be like,
yeah. So don't kill
I'm
Rachel.
gonna be like, this is where I would put my poster of the Catskin and the Rose by Angela Wu if I had one. I'm gonna be so upset about it. I'm upset thinking of like that. This could not happen. I'm gonna take it really personally.
It's gotta. And then at 2750. The beach episode, we get 5 more pages. Another
I'm gonna need that.
Yeah. It's a good one too. It's great. Rio Burton is drawing that one. She is incredible.
Just like outstanding. Yeah. I'm gonna be
most
upset.
Recently was on As of the Barbed, which is comic that recently destroyed Kickstarter. And then at $35,000, I don't have much else to give you guys, but I will physically alter my body with a tattoo.
I mean, for $35K, definitely worth it.
Yeah, if we get that much, I will 100% alter my body.
Look, you kick in a little extra there, I'll go get one. It'll be great. I'll do it. If it's covered, absolutely. Get a big chest piece, because that means I'll have like the side comics. That's how appreciative I'll be.
Yeah.
Well, where can listeners find you guys? And I mean, are there any other projects that you wanted to mention? You wanted to plug in before we end our interview today?
Rachel, I know you have the Nightcrawlers.
Yes, I do have the Nightcrawlers. So that one is like my very first like all interiors by me, published by Ablaze. It's like a young adult, like middle readers, really more middle readers book about it. Like if you think about basically the Goonies, you have like a group of kids and all kinds of mysterious things like happen in the neighborhood. So like they together at this like orphanage, a little mystery there. They go and of course like solve these sort of paranormal cases, and this very first one is about a boy who discovers his parents are werewolves, and just kind of builds like the first arc of the Nightcrawlers. There's like a you know, an old character that comes out of the past, a little bit more about like the caretaker and owner of like the orphanage and his family. Lots of like seeded little mysteries there. And I just took a look at the one of like the previews of the PDF, about to go to print actually, and I'm very pleased. So I hope people come pick it up. It's coming out like in September, so it's like hitting right before like Halloween, like get that vibe going. So like check it out. And I have like there will be a lot of things happening. In the future, I'll be doing a story with my usual ride or die, Brent Fisher, and we'll be doing something like at Dauntless later this year. But like right now, I'm working on just like the most pitches anybody's ever seen, because I have like a sick and twisted addiction to working on books.
Hey. Yeah, for me, I've got Frankenstein the Unconquered, which is issues 3 and 4 will be running on Kickstarter later this year. I've got Mechaton. Issue 1 is in stores now. The first trade will be going to stores later this year, hopefully. I'm not going to promise that, actually. I don't know the exact date, but it should be coming out soon. We just completed issue 5. We just sent off the completed artwork to Scout, so it is in their capable hands now. And then at some point, as listeners will be familiar with on this show, we attempted to fund Depths. We are going to relaunch that later this year as well. So keep that.
Hell yeah! I that book is very beautiful, so I want to see it come back, and I'm happy to hear that it is coming back.
Yeah, no, it's a really incredible book. It's just a very like big book that we.
Yeah, when I saw, like, you showed me, I think, some of the covers, I was like, oh damn, and then I saw the Kickstarter, and then I saw the page count, I was like, oh damn. So like, I wasn't surprised. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a big undertaking, but we're really excited to tackle it. So absolutely. And you can find me on Twitter at Wells Thomp for as long as that hellish website is still around. Same handle for Blue Sky. And yeah, that's and then wellsthompson.com. You can find links to my work as well as my newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm Red Tie Bear basically everywhere. Just Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram. My website's like redtiebear.com. Very, very easy to remember. It's just the one thing. So
where does Red Tie Bear come from? I've always wanted to ask.
So it's a little bit of a conglomeration of things. So I went to a all-girls Catholic school when I was a kid, and we had like red blazers and like these dress-up shirts and stuff. And I just always enjoyed ties, so I was the only one who wore like a tie with my uniform. I don't think we were supposed to, but nobody stopped me. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody said something once, but I was like, yeah, I'm calling your bluff. And I wore it until I graduated. So that sort of became something I was associated with. And then bears are just kind of like, they're just like my thing. I love bears. And so I've also sort of like, I like mascot characters a lot. So like, even though I'm trying to give, actual pictures of myself for like books and things, if I could just slide somebody just like a very chicken nuggety shaped bear with a red tie on it, I feel like that would be enough to say that's me. So like, this is me, Rachel Distler, and like red tie bear, that's aspirational me. Like, I just want to be a chicken nugget shaped, kind of like a grimace shaped mascot bear with like a red tie, and just be like, oh, that's Rachel. That's the real one.
Cool. All right. Well, again, I want to thank the collaborators behind the Catskin and the Rose, Will Thompson and Rachel Distler, for joining us here today to discuss their graphic novella currently on Kickstarter. All of Wells and Rachel's socials alongside the Kickstarter will be listed in this episode's details for those who aren't interested. Again, I am KS Garner, and you've been listening to the Solo Nerdbird Podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.